Sushant Sareen, then charging them, indicting them, charging them with narco-terrorism in the US. So is the US on a strong legal wicket here, or in the Trump administration, they don't care? It's Trump's way or highway?
Yeah, come on, Gaurav. I never expected you to be as
Yes,
naive.
I don't think Trump cares so much
Okay,
for law.
Sushant Sareen, Ambassador Dayal, Sushant Sareen, go on, Sushant.
I didn't think you were as naive to ask this kind of a question. Do you think there is any legality involved? That's just an embellishment uh, for a patently illegal action which they have taken. Now, the simple fact of the matter is that the old global rules-based order that was being sold to everybody has broken down completely, and not for the first time. This is not the first time the Americans have picked up a leader of one of the Latin American
True.
countries and booked him on narcotics trafficking charges. We had the example of Manuel Noriega of Panama in the past, and now we have this particular example. So this is not the first time something like this is being done by the Americans. And that entire legal process which they swear by, it doesn't hold any water unless it's the case that America has legal jurisdiction all over the world and the rest of the world is an American colony. This doesn't hold. Now, again, let me make it very clear. I don't hold any brief for Maduro because I think that particular regime was abysmal. But is that the only abysmal regime in the world? If you're talking about an unfair election, what happened in Pakistan last year?
True.
24. It was a completely stolen election by Trump's favorite field marshal, but that doesn't seem to bother him. Out there, he's perfectly fine. And despite having loaded the field in Pakistan, Imran Khan's party had still won, and they were finally just declared that they had lost. It was an election worse stolen than what happened in Venezuela. But Gaurav, look, let's face it, we are back to a time when that old order has completely broken down. As Ambassador Dayal has said, might is right. And that old 2,000-year-old saying that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must is the simple reality of today's order. And I think until and unless countries like ours understand this simple fact and not be swayed by the nonsense which the West feeds us, that you
True.
should do certain things because it is not moralistic. Let's not take any moralistic lectures or sermonizing from anybody in the world.
And we've
Let
seen a history, we've seen a long history of the US doing what it wants to do. And, not just in Panama or Grenada or in Libya or in Iraq, like they've done, or Afghanistan in the past. But Glenn Carl, no rules-based order. Its might is right, not going to the UN Security Council just because Donald Trump has decided he wants to do this. I mean, isn't this what the US criticized Russia for Ukraine? And US did exactly the same thing, sir?
Well, the short answer to the last part of your question and comment is yes, the U.S. has done the same thing, and that gets to a larger point that I think is really important that we make here. But two things to get there. From 1945 until the last decade, there has been a halting but a real international normative order where the most powerful states were able, the United States first among them, to pursue their national interests unilaterally, but there still were norms obeyed and upheld for many aspects of international relations. This has completely broken down, and that gets to what I think the larger point is. More important than the seizing of a foreign head of state, the invasion of a country, all these things, and I'm not dismissing their significance, but that what has been developed or pushed for by the Trump administration, the first time and the second administration, is a sphere of influence, international quote order unquote or system, where the United States, Trump has been explicit about this, has declared the Monroe Doctrine reinvigorated with the Trump corollary. It's even in the National Defense Strategy, that phrase, that the United States will essentially rule and in an imperial way the Americas. And de facto, that recognizes what Vladimir Putin has been pushing for, and less directly Xi Jinping, for a sphere of influence in what Russia calls the near abroad for Russia, and frankly, Asia for China. That's de facto what has happened. That is the most consequential uh, truth or development of this invasion of Venezuela, bad as it is for international law and the norms. I agree with most of the statements made by our colleagues in the past several
So
minutes.
give me a moment. I'm getting a
That this
reaction.
has
I'm
put
getting a
paid to the
reaction
order.
from US Vice President JD Vance. JD Vance has said that several opportunities were given to Maduro for an off-ramp, but that off-ramp did not take place, is what JD Vance has said. He then goes on to say that President Trump means what he says, and he's carried out whatever he wanted to. The president offered multiple off-ramps, but was very clear throughout this process: drug trafficking must stop, and that stolen oil must be returned to the United States. Maduro is the newest person to find out that President Trump means what he says. Kudos to our brave special operators who pulled off a truly impressive operation. Sushant Sareen, off-ramps were given to Maduro. All indications also are Maduro sought an off-ramp just 2 days ago, but then his fate had been sealed, it seems.
Gaurav, all those off ramps that you're talking about, or what the Americans are talking about, were basically just building up the case to not appear as bad as they're appearing to the rest of the world, to what they have done. Unfortunately, that's the fact. You see, if you look at, again, like I said, I'm not a fan of the Maduro regime or his predecessor. Uh, but the fact of the matter is that what he was trying to do was he was also trying to respond. What the American system was that you have to genuflect before us, you have to give in to everything we are asking. Otherwise, we are coming for you no matter what you do. So those off ramps were not really off ramps. They were basically an invitation to jump off the cliff into the abyss. And that, of course, Maduro was actually trying to get some kind of an off ramp when he was saying, "I'll negotiate for the oil, I'll do a lot of other things." But the Americans were not interested because they had made up their mind that they're going to make those offers and then not follow it up and then carry out the raid which they have carried out. But
Okay.
important thing is that, okay, fine, now you have removed Maduro. Have you taken over control over the country so that you can bring about a regime change? Because as far as I know, and I might be wrong because things are moving very fast, the basic regime stays in place. You've taken
The
on
vice
Maduro.
president, yes.
Yes, the basic thing stays in place, and at least from the defense minister and others, there's a lot of defiant talk coming. So, are
But there are
you
millions of dollars of awards on their heads. $50 million on Maduro, on his wife, then on the defense minister, then on the interior minister.